welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Kristen Kennedy, and this is the show we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
And we also have joining us at the table the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Mr. John Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Monday.
In a recent interview, Disney chairman Alan Horn stated that the next installment of the Star Wars franchise, Star Wars Episode VII, is actually already filming. The executive also mentioned that while most casting is done, there are still a few roles they're filling. John, what do you take away from Horn's interview?
Well, it's, again, one of these things, right? We talk about films that we're all excited about and all this kind of stuff, but it's once you start seeing production photos, it's once you start hearing the cameras have started rolling, that it all starts to become more tangible. Everybody knows that, to a very sad degree, my life is completely based on Star Wars. Everything about my life, my first cat in my life, none of this is a joke, by the way. My very first pet was a cat that I named Luke Skywalker. For some reason, it ran away. My earliest childhood memory is my mom taking me to see Star Wars. I drove 3,000 miles to watch The Phantom Menace opening day at a theater on the other side of the country because I really wanted to see it in that theater. And I drove 3,000 miles to go do that. I am fanatical about Star Wars, you know, obviously, which is why I don't like to talk about the prequels too much. But these new ones, a lot of enthusiasm. Now, look, I think this shouldn't surprise us that they've started shooting some stuff, because remember, there's a lot of stuff to shoot that isn't primary story. It can be like just, you know, coverage shots and things with a lot of extras, and all these things you can start doing now so they're done, out of the way. Now, the other thing that Horn talked about was that they're still finishing up some of the casting, but he said most of them are done. The key cast members in this movie have been cast and are cast for a while. I mean, I made a little tiny budget film, and I made sure I had my cast in place 2 or 3 months before we started shooting. Disney is not going to, yeah, we've got this multi-billion-dollar franchise, and I think we'll save the decision about who's going to be in it for the next 5 movies, and we'll just leave that till the last second. No, they've got all their main characters lined up. They're probably just casting some of these smaller side roles, whatever, that's still going. But for me, it's very exciting because it's becoming more and more tangible. I'm waiting for that one shot, though, of J.J. Abrams in the director's chair on set. That's when I really start to. You think I'm a fanboy? When that picture comes out, you're going to see me lose my mind a little bit. I'm going to be so excited. Anyway, Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, it truly is you know, it makes it tangible when you hear that they've been shooting. I mean, yeah, I'm not as big of a Star Wars nut, but you know, I went and walked 13 times to see The Empire Strikes Back when I was a little kid. It was like a 4-mile walk back and forth every Saturday and Sunday. Saw it twice. Yeah. To me, it's a very cool thing to know that they're actually shooting, and it makes sense that they're probably getting out of the way some of these bigger sequences. Like if you remember when they shot Empire Strikes Back, that was shot. Hoth was a real set. It wasn't like these dudes against green screen. They had built these turrets. It was, I believe, it was Norway.
Something like that. Yeah, Finland, I believe it was Norway.
Yeah, some freezing area that these people were actually freezing and shooting and running around. You know, months before they brought in, you know, Harrison Ford with the stunt tauntaun and stuff. So I'm sure that's what they're doing. Maybe they've been shooting sequences at Pinewood and no one knows what's going on.
Right.
And by not saying they're shooting, they don't have anybody with cameras, you know, which like Avengers, we've got shots of everybody now running around. We have a weird dude with a half of an Ultron outfit. We know what that is. No one's covering Star Wars because they're like, they're not shooting it. Now you know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's pretty exciting. I really look forward to seeing, you know, the first behind-the-scenes photos, because that is exciting. Especially, it's still kind of a hard thing to even realize that they're shooting Star Wars VII. It seems like this is all a dream.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't feel real.
More and more tangible as we go on. All right, what's next?
Goonies forever indeed. The Goonies director Richard Donner revealed last week that a sequel to the classic adventure comedy is currently in the works. One of the original Goonies, Sean Astin, said in 2012 that he was 1,000% certain that a sequel would happen and that he was willing to bet his children on it. Rumors are now circulating that Donner, Steven Spielberg, and Chris Columbus are co-producing the film and actively looking for writers and directors. Schnepp, could we actually get a Goonies 2?
It looks very, very plausible. It seems that that's what's going to happen. I mean, they're announcing it. I know Donner was talking about doing Goonies the musical back when they put out the Blu-ray. Whether Donner's going to direct this or not, it doesn't seem like that is going to happen. It seems like they're going to hand off the writing and the directing to either a younger set of people or somebody other than Chris Columbus and Donner. Are they going to get all the Goonies? I know Chunk's a lawyer. I had a run-in with him a few years ago. He's an actual lawyer now. So whether they get the whole cast, I don't see why not. It would be great to get the entire cast. And from what I'm gathering, it's not actually it's like the Goonies kids are going to be in this. They're going to, it's like a brand new pack of Goonies.
Yeah.
So.
And for that reason, I have almost no interest in this project. I mean, when I first heard the concept of Goonies 2, I'm like, yes. But it was something I believe Donner said, it was like he was cornered by TMZ on the street.
Right.
He's been, yeah, working on Goonies 2. That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
Lots of people are working on lots of different things. And let's be clear here. This ain't greenlit. It's not like this is official, right?
Right.
But they are working on trying to get something put together. But the moment I read and found out, I mean, these are at least the rumors. None of this is confirmed. The moment I heard that it looks like they're going with a new generation of Goonies, with the kids of the original Goonies, with some cameos from the original Goonies, lost interest. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm as interested in it as I would be in any new, piece of property coming out, right? But I have no longer attached my wonderful nostalgia of Goonies to it because I know we're probably not going to see Josh Brolin in there. We're probably not going to see a lot of these guys in there. And if they do, they're probably going to be in a little bit of scene at the beginning saying, you kids stay out of trouble. And then one little scene at the end saying, oh, our kids have come back from their adventure. And that is like, okay, that's great, but it's not really Goonies.
Right.
These are the Goonies.
Yeah.
Goonies never say die, John.
And they never say die. And I want these guys. I want Short Round. I want all these guys there. I'm not interested in a story about their kids.
I gotta say, like, I am one of those few people on the planet who had never seen Goonies up until 2 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sacrilegious.
I know. I would always get that. I'm one of those people who's like, what? You haven't seen Zardoz? I get angry at people if they haven't seen a bunch of nerd stuff. But I was that guy that I would be like, yeah, I never saw Goonies. And I got that, what? You haven't seen Goonies? They had to repeat it because they were so astonished. And I was like, I know, I haven't seen it. So I finally rectified the situation, saw Goonies, and I loved it.
Okay, I was curious because as an adult, what was your first viewing experience like?
It was actually, I really enjoyed it. In fact, to be totally honest, I thought I would hate it. I was like, it feels like a spin-off 80s. It was like an artificial secondary 80s movie that I don't need to see.
Right.
It's like, it has all these other popular kids from other movies like Short Round and this. So I was like, and that was in my mind, and I was completely wrong. It's a really fun adventure. I loved it. So to me, like having I'm a fresh Goonie, so to hear that there's going to be Goonies too, it's so weird. It's like when you watch all the Harry Potters, you're like, I'm watching them age,
Yeah.
So to me, it would be kind of fun to see all those kids as adults with their own family, just because it's so recent to me. But it won't be recent because by the time it comes out, it'll be 3-4 years from now.
Yeah. All right, folks, so listen, we've come to that part of the show called Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Schnepp and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
According to reports, Oscar-nominated 12 Years a Slave actor Chiwetel Ejiofor is Sony Pictures and MGM's top choice to play the villain in James Bond 24. Ejiofor has also appeared in such films as Serenity, Red Belt, and Children of Men. John, buy or sell the idea of Chiwetel Ejiofor as a Bond villain?
I have been singing the praises of Chiwetel Ejiofor ever since I saw him as the villain in Serenity. And I'll stay on record right now. He, to me, is still my favorite screen villain of the last 10 years. Not that Serenity is my favorite film of the last 10 years, no. But as a villain, put him behind Heath Ledger as the Joker. Okay, I'll put him behind Heath Ledger as the Joker. But aside from Heath Ledger Joker, maybe one or two other very select exceptions.
Top 10.
Yeah, his portrayal as the villain in Serenity made that film for me. He was terrifyingly smooth. And he just seems to me as the perfect choice for a Bond villain. I think him being a Bond villain could potentially be the greatest Bond villain ever.
For sure.
Like, absolutely, seriously. I just love this guy. His talent knows no bounds. I think he is still, even with an Academy Award nomination under his belt, I still think he's the most underappreciated actor in the business. I've thought that for the last 5 years. I still believe it. For me, this is a huge buy.
Yeah, same here. Buy it. He's a great actor. I mean, it's great to see his range, too, from Serenity to 12 Years a Slave to a bunch of other films that he's been in. And to me, it's really exciting. I guess I didn't realize Sam Mendes had he signed on for 24 and 25. So I wonder if they're going to shoot those Bonds back to back.
I doubt it. They rarely do. But wouldn't that be cool? That
would be kind of cool because it's sort of like we had to wait like almost 6 years for a Bond movie.
I mean,
Remember with all the MGM
have we
stuff?
ever had a Bond movie that was literally a two-parter? Like, wouldn't it be great if we got to the end of Bond 24 and there's actually a bit of a cliffhanger and then Bond 25 is like part 2 of that story?
Well, certainly Casino Royale had a little bit of that cliffhanger, and then the Quantum of Solace picked up right afterwards, and he's like, there he is with the guns taking care of those dudes.
But even those were two you could just watch them individually.
You could totally watch them individually. I don't know if they would do a cliffhanger and have both of the villains be in 24 and 25, but it would be great. 24 and 25 would make Daniel Craig's 4th and 5th Bond movies.
Yeah, which I think would complete his contract, I think. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Would that make him the longest Bond?
No.
It's still Connery.
I still think Connery.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Captain America: The Winter Soldier is now playing in AMC theaters everywhere, and it just set the new opening weekend box office record for the month of April, taking in over $96 million. Just pocket change, guys. Beating out the previous April record holder, Fast and the Furious 5. Schnepp, buy or sell that Marvel should be happy with this opening weekend.
Yeah, I'm buying that pocket change. Some crazy pocket change, Marvel. Why don't you share a little of that love, son? Yeah, I totally buy it. And, it's funny, too. We did a spoilers over the weekend, and I heard a lot of people saying, how come you didn't talk about Stephen Strange? And it's like, well, I think
Spoiler!
Oh, hey, hi, how's it going? Anyway, certain things we didn't talk about. It's simply because we were covering, we were doing spoilers for the show, for the movie, but there's so much to talk about. We could have talked probably for 2 hours about Captain America.
Easily.
So, that's for, even though it was a spoiler show, we didn't spoil everything. There's still a ton of stuff we didn't talk about. $96 million, it seems like half of all the nerds already went and saw it. So the other half, go next weekend, see it in IMAX. It's really good.
Yeah, I got to buy this. There are some people saying to me, don't you think the next Marvel film should have made $120 million in opening weekend? I think you're underestimating how big $96 million in opening weekend is. And keep this in mind, too. The last Captain America film, they were very happy with its opening, and it opened with $65 million on opening weekend. That's like a 34% bump up from the last Captain America movie. I'm telling you, they should be singing and dancing in the halls at Disney right now, because this has been, by a lot of people, considered to be, Captain America was considered to be probably the weaker of all the individual character movies, right? And so to come out, they had a terrific marketing campaign. Obviously, guys like us, it's getting great positive buzz and word of mouth. And you see a 34% bump. I'm very curious to see how much legs it has. I think this movie is so ridiculously good. I believe it's going to have legs. And so, yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's going to drop. Like, normally second weekend movies drop by like 40 to 50%. I think
sometimes up to 60.
Yeah, I think this will, because of the word of mouth, I think it'll probably drop like less than 25.
Really?
I'm thinking
25 to 30, but both would be great. All right, what's next?
You know what I have to say I really liked about Captain America 2 is I loved it. I didn't think it was better than Avengers, but I loved it. I went back and watched the first Cap this weekend, and the second one made me appreciate the first one more. And I was not a fan of the first one.
That's an earmark of a great sequel.
It was like,
when
okay.
it makes you appreciate the original even more.
It was like, okay, when I first saw the original, I was like, kind of a little slow spots. But then once I saw the second one, I was so excited it made me appreciate the first one, which is what I'm hoping for Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, Chrisley, I read that a lot too. A lot of people had similar feelings because the second one, without giving any spoilers, makes some of the characters from the first movie stand out a little bit.
Yeah, even richer. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, are you one of the people starting to wonder if we're actually going to get a Wreck-It Ralph 2? Well, according to composer Henry Jackman, who scored the first film, there's no need to worry. In a recent interview, Jackman revealed that work on the new film is already happening and that we are indeed getting a Wreck-It Ralph 2. John, I know your answer. Buy or sell us getting a Wreck-It Ralph 2?
Well, yes, surprisingly enough, I'm going to buy one of the most I think I still prefer everybody knows how much I loved Lego. I still think I prefer Wreck-It Ralph. I loved that movie passionately. And we've known for a while, look, the director has said for a while, yeah, we're going to make a sequel, already working on ideas. But as film fans, we've heard about a lot of movies over the times that, yeah, we're working on this, and it never happens, right? So it is kind of nice to hear and just be subtly reminded. Look, I know my wife loves me, but it's kind of nice in the morning when she just nudges me and says, hey, I love you, big guy. That just reassures you a little bit, right? It's kind of nice having somebody from Disney, because we haven't heard anything from Wreck-It Ralph for a while, right? This is kind of reassuring, so for me, it's a buy.
Yeah, it's a buy for me, too. I mean, I'm glad we don't have to wait as long as for The Incredibles 2 to get a Wreck-It Ralph 2. Yeah. I mean, they're already talking about it, which is great. The composer's like, I'm beginning to do some composing. So, yeah, I loved Wreck-It Ralph, and I'll go on record. I liked it a lot more than the Lego Movie. And I still love the Lego Movie, but Wreck-It Ralph to me was like really any film that has Q*bert in it, I'm gonna love it. So I'm glad to hear they're working on Wreck-It Ralph. More Q*bert next time.
More Q*bert. All right, folks, listen, as you know, this is usually the time when we do Mailbag, but we got a little item of business to take care of here. Our comic book superhero movie madness tournament is drawing to its conclusion. Of course, last week we talked about the semifinal matchups which came up. We have the results of the semifinals of our comic book superhero March Movie Madness tournament, setting up our finale. So let's take a look at the results at the semifinals. In the first semifinal, the final of the Nolan bracket, we had the #1 seed, The Dark Knight, versus the #7 seed, Man of Steel. Over 16,000 of you casted votes. The Dark Knight, unsurprisingly, the #1 seed will move on to the finals in this thing. It beats Man of Steel. Although this was closer than I thought it would be, 10,105 votes to 6,365 votes. Man of Steel ends its impressive run to the finals of the bracket, but The Dark Knight, predictably, will move on to the absolute finals. And in the Whedon bracket, the final in the Whedon bracket, we had Avengers, the #1 seed, versus the #3 seed, Iron Man. Avengers wins handily, 12,722 votes to 3,748 votes. Avengers moves on to the final. So here's our final matchup, the championship round, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we've been waiting for. In the championships, we have the #1 seed from the Nolan bracket, The Dark Knight, versus the #1 seed from the Avengers bracket, from the Whedon bracket, I should say, the Avengers. I think we all knew this is the matchup it was going to come down to.
Yeah.
We all knew it was. But I'm telling you, there were a lot of surprises along the way.
Sure.
Like, sure, the final two was kind of easy to pick, but a lot of those matchups we've done, we started out with 32 films. We're now down to the final two. I've had a ball with this. So I'm going to let you guys know right now. Look in the description of this video. Right at the top of the description of the video, you'll find the link where you go and vote for the ultimate champion for our March Movie Madness tournament. What is the greatest comic book hero movie of all time? Is it The Dark Knight, or is it The Avengers? This is the big vote. So once again, look in the description of the video. You'll see the link there. Click on that link, and you'll go and you will vote on what is going to be crowned as the AMC Movie News best comic book movie of all time, The Dark Knight or The Avengers. Schnepp, you're going to go over there later today after we're done the show. Who are you voting for?
Either The Avengers or The Dark Knight as best movie,
yeah,
best
in our
film.
best comic book superhero movie. That's our finals.
Honestly, like, I love The Dark Knight, but I would have to pick The Avengers simply because it's got the Hulk, it's got Thor, it's got Captain America, it's got Iron Man. It's got Loki. It's got all the characters in there. I mean, if it was Justice League and the Justice League movie was incredible versus the Avengers, it might be a different story. I don't know, but like I absolutely love the Avengers, and it was a little bit more fun. The Dark Knight's so grim, like why so serious? Murder, explosions, a Joker, and
they're very different films.
Yeah, different films. And I loved the Joker. I loved Heath Ledger. I think Christian Bale did an incredible job as Batman in that second film. But I'm going to go with The Avengers, just because it was so much more fun.
This is an easier decision for me. Everybody knows I love The Dark Knight, but Avengers for me is, I've said for a long time, I think The Avengers is the best comic book superhero movie of all time. So that's going to be my vote, and a lot of people think differently. Chris Lee, who are you going to vote for
I was
today?
just going to say, can I sleep on this for like 3 or 4 days? Because I need that time. I am such a Dark Knight fan. I loved that trilogy. I thought they were all amazing. Huge Christian Bale fan, but The Avengers was so much fun, and it got me so excited for Marvel, and it introduced me to characters that I didn't know. So I have to sleep on this one for a couple days, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna. I think a lot of people are gonna be tormented.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are gonna click on that link, and then they're gonna go to the page that says Avengers or The Dark Knight, and I think a lot of people are just gonna sit there and stare at the monitors for a few minutes.
I recommend playing that Meatloaf song. Let me sleep on it. Oh, baby, baby, let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning. You know.
All right.
I want to know right now. Is it Avengers or The Dark Knight? Sorry.
Go and vote. Go on over to that link and vote for the best superhero movie of all time. All right, folks, we've now come to that part of the show called Mailbag. Now, before we get into those questions, I'll let you know we do the show live every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And for those of you who are watching us live, we're going to leave a couple of minutes at the end of the show so you can tweet in some live questions to us. And you can tweet them to us at AMC Movie News, which you can see right below me here, at AMC Movie News, and Chris Lee will pick out a couple from there. But for now, it's time for Mailbag. Listen, 24/7, you guys can email us any topics or questions that you'd like us to address on the show, and we'll address them here on AMC Movie Talk and sometimes on Mailbag on the weekend as well. You can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Chris Lee's got a couple of questions pulled out of the mailbag, so Chris Lee, what do we got?
Benjamin Rydberg writes, "Hey AMC crew, I want to start a YouTube channel like yours, though nowhere near as professional, and I want to be able to interview celebrities for movies like you do. What does it take for me to be able to go to press junkets? Do I need certain credentials to do so, or do they just let anybody who has a website come on in?"
No, they don't just let anybody with a website come on in.
Really? I thought you could just walk in.
I thought you just showed
You
up.
sure?
Hey, I want to
talk to
They let
Scarlett
me in,
Johansson.
John.
Oh.
No, really how it works is basically this, is you'll get invited. So if you're going to ask me how do I get invited to these junkets, and there's a few exceptions to every rule obviously, but generally speaking, start your website and or YouTube channel, whatever, and start getting 10,000 plus views of your individual YouTube videos, or start getting 500,000 monthly views of your website. And then when that starts happening, you'll start to get some invitations to some smaller things. But no, there's no publicist you can just write, hey, put me on the list for press junkets.
Right.
I mean, look, we're AMC, we're affiliated with AMC Theaters, right? We're a huge, entertainment brand. And even we don't get invited to everything. We get invited to most stuff, but not everything. So it's a little bit of art, it's a little bit of science. Don't worry about it. Just don't even worry about how do I get invited to junket. Don't even worry about it. Worry about developing your YouTube channel to get up to 50,000 subscribers, whatever. Worry about developing your website, get it up to 250,000 readers a month, and then start asking those questions. Then you can find some publicists' email addresses, no problem, and just drop them a message. Say, hey, just so you know, put me on your radar. Here's our stats. Here's our traffic. These are the numbers we have. I'd be interested in covering some films if you're ever looking for people to cover. Go that route. But for now, when you're just getting started, you're getting way too far ahead of yourself asking the question, how do I get in the press junkets? Don't worry about it. Develop a great channel, develop a great website, and then let the rest worry about itself. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, the only thing I could really add is, if you want to get into these press junkets, start writing for other websites. I mean, you're talking about starting up your own website to become a press affiliate. That's a lot harder, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get all those viewers that John's talking about. That's a lot of time. Like, we're talking about 2 to 3 years to build that kind of an audience. So if you want to perhaps get into the press game and interview people and get it to that red carpet, start perhaps by going to Collider.com or Screen Rant or any of these sites. I would go to those sites and say, hey, can I write articles for you guys, and get in that way to start becoming part of the press, so to speak.
All right, what's next?
Sean Cutshaw writes, "Hey AMC crew, thanks for taking my question and keep up the great work. I often hear how much Brother John loves Man of Steel, and that's great." That just got creepy, Brother John. My question for John and the crew is, what does Man of Steel 2 have to do to be better than the first? Thanks to all the AMC crew.
Well, yeah, you ain't wrong. I love me some Man of Steel. I do. I unabashedly, unapologetically love that movie. I think it's brilliant. As a matter of fact, it is my second favorite DC film of all time. For me, it's behind The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is still my favorite all-time DC film. But I even put it, I know it's sacrilegious to say, I put it above the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. I just do, just being honest. But I think it's that good. And then, like I said, Dark Knight being my favorite DC thing of all time. So when asking the question, what does it need to do to be better? I mean, step one, add Batman. I mean, add Batman, that's a good start.
Sprinkle Batman into the Superman movie. Done.
Second thing, drop Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Go get a real actress. I won't open that whole bag of things again.
Oh, you just did.
I just did, though, didn't I? But no, seriously. The only thing you could, if you had asked me, nobody had talked about Batman yet, and everybody says, how do you make Man of Steel better? I don't know, add Batman. So they're heading in the right direction by adding Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think Man of Steel would have to do to improve upon itself going into the second one?
Well, you know, to be honest, like now that we've covered the origin of this new version of Superman and it fit and it stuck, we don't have to do another origin of Superman ever again, really, hopefully for at least 10 years. So though I loved Man of Steel, I loved their depiction of Krypton. I loved the dragon sequence with Jor-El flying on a crazy like mosquito dragon. I dug that stuff. I almost wish we saw more of Krypton. But so we don't have to deal with an origin, so we could just bam get right into the second Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, whatever it's going to be called. We're right into the story, which is really satisfying, just like Captain America 2.
And hopefully with an older, experienced Batman that they're going for, we don't have to cover the Batman origin story again either.
I seriously hope we don't have to go through the Batman origin. I don't think they're going to do that to us. But, you know, we can just get right into story and, like, bam, we're right into Lex Luthor. We're right into Wayne rebuilding Metropolis. Whatever, they're going to have to go with the ramifications of what happened in Man of Steel. And I'm sure a few years will have passed. I'm sure Superman's well-known around the world, so that's my guess. It's not going to pick up like 1 week later. I don't think it's going to do that. My jury's out as far as Gal Gadot, and we've talked about this back and forth. I'm totally cool in seeing her their interpretation of what Wonder Woman's going to be, because it is Zack Snyder, David Goyer, and all the rest of the DC producers who are behind this version of Wonder Woman. So I'm going to just wait and see. But yeah, how to make Superman better? Sprinkle Batman all over it, you know? Just sprinkle it in.
All right. Well, we're going to go over to the Twitter stream now and see what you guys got going on live. Chris Lee is our gatekeeper. So Chris Lee, what are people asking us on Twitter?
Here's a fun little question from Sam Curtis. With all the success of Captain 2, do you think DC and WB is rethinking their release date? I hope not. I want a war.
Oh, yeah? I mean, look, I've said this all along. I mean, for those of you who don't know, as of right now, Captain America 3 and Man of Steel 2, Batman vs. Superman, are scheduled to come out on the same day. That ain't gonna fly, pardon the pun. And make no mistake about it, Batman vs. Superman will win that weekend. Yes, but guess what? Marvel can afford to make less money than they would have opening weekend. Warner Brothers DC needs a lot of attention on Batman and Superman. They need to knock it out of the park, and they need to crush it on opening weekend. While I do believe Batman vs. Superman would win that weekend, I believe they are far more in a position that they need to move off that date. I really believe Batman vs. Superman needs to move off that date, especially with Captain America 2 being one of the all-time greatest comic book movies I've ever seen. Especially with that being the case. And the Russos are returning for Captain America 3. It's going to be an amazing film. And I think it's a very observant question you're asking. With the success of Captain America 2 and how good it is, should Warner Brothers blink and move out that date? Because remember, Marvel did announce the date first. So I would say they need to move. Warner Brothers needs to move. Schnepp?
I say keep that game of chicken and let them smash into each other.
And give us the greatest opening weekend in history.
I think I'm of the mindset that it's only which one am I going to see first. I'm going to see both movies. I think it's the biggest win for any comic book fan.
Film fans, yeah.
Film fan, action fan. It's a double feature weekend, which, look, they're both going to win. Somebody's going to chip into somebody else's cheddar. That's just going to happen.
Yeah.
You're right. Batman vs. Superman will be the box office #1. Does Marvel care about like not being #1 with Captain America? I don't think so.
They care, but not as much.
Right. I think I think more so they're going to be like, we're not moving. Shield firmly in ground. Come at me. You know, it's like that's really how it's going to go down. I don't see Captain America moving. I really hope DC doesn't move. I hope Warner Brothers doesn't move from that spot. I think it would be glorious to just see that battle. I mean, I want to see both films. So.
All right.
I want to be in the theater that day and watch us all scramble.
Oh yeah,
from
running
one
back
to the
and
next
forth between
'cause that's what's gonna
theaters to see. Wait, now this was done. I got to get to the next showing of this one.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right, we got time for 2 more quick ones. Let's go really quick.
Kayla Iris Garcia wants to know, actually, she says, Stark quits being Iron Man, Thor leaves Asgard, S.H.I.E.L.D. is done, Captain and team is disbanded. How is this going to play into Avengers 2?
We'll know soon enough.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, look, Fury said it best. When we need them, they will be there, and that's going to be the case. Something's going to come up. They will be back. What their story threads are going to be about how they do it, don't know. We'll just have to wait till Joss Whedon pulls that. I don't want to speculate too much because too much speculating will get into some spoilers detail of Captain America 2, which I don't want to do. But we got time. We got time to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think in the cinematic universe, as far as the Avengers go, it's not them all hanging out at a table eating a sandwich. You know, they all have their own lives. They're all doing their own thing. If a giant something comes up, all of them will come together. You know, the flare gun in the sky of the universe. The Avengers assemble. You know, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen with Avengers 2 is everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone comes together.
Right. So. All right, last question.
T-Dog Terrell wants to take it back to Middle Earth. When will we see the first Hobbit There and Back Again trailer? Because I can't wait for the final battle.
I'll be honest with you. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, I'm surprised we haven't seen that first little tease.
Right.
I'm the type of guy, I don't believe you need trailers before 4 months until the movie. But it is kind of standard practice for big projects like this, especially the 3rd film of the Hobbit franchise, to give us a little tease 9 months, 10 months in advance, right? The film, they've been in production on this film for 3 years, so, they've got to have a lot of stuff. I've got to suspect soon, and by soon, it's already April, mid-May. I think by mid-May, we're going to see our first look. What do you think?
Yeah, that's 6 months out. So it's May, June, they're going to have to give us a trailer. It's coming out in December this year, so we'll see it. We'll see it in a couple months.
Well, folks, that will do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, go and vote for the final matchup, the championship matchup between #1 seed The Dark Knight and #1 seed The Avengers. What is the greatest comic book movie of all time? You'll find the link in the top of the descriptions. I want to thank sitting beside me, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
Hey, you guys can find me at Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp. This Saturday at Meltdown, I'm doing my 2nd comic book sale. So if you're in Hollywood, California, come on down, buy some of my comics, and help me finish the Superman movie.
Our lovely host today, Miss Crystalie Kennedy. Crystalie, where can people find you online?
On Twitter and Instagram, at Crystalie.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks just at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. For AMC Movie News, my name's John Campea, and until next time, hail Hydra.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.